Good morning, Crafty.
Good morning.
Yes, this time it is morning.
Yeah, I mean, if you can
Last
call
time it
noon
wasn't.
a morning, but yeah, let's go
It's
noon
morning.
morning.
It's morning.
Today we have a kind of a mashup episode
It's
of two
it's
grumps.
very a lot of things to talk about today.
Yeah, we have games, we have more games, and we even have a movie.
And
So,
we have a book,
oh
but
yeah, we have a
yeah,
book, don't we?
yeah.
So yeah, on today's agenda, what are the games that we have?
The games for today are all played by me. First of all, let's clear this up.
Yep.
And they're Oxenfree is one of the games. The other is TimeFrame, and the last one is Valley.
Out of those three, I have heard about one, and I haven't played any of them. So I'm looking forward to hearing your opinion on those. As for
All
movies,
right.
we actually bought So Life, the recent sci-fi horror movie that
Yeah.
I saw it just a bit further back, but it's still fresh in my memory. And as for books, we have Warbreaker.
Yes, Warbreaker, which was suggested by me. It was unfortunately not what it looked
I
in the
mean,
beginning.
you're starting to have a trend with that, right? There is a
Yes.
suggestion. You're like, let's read this book, and then it turns out it's not about what it looks like it's about. So, where do you want to
Mm,
start? Books, movies, or games?
I think let's clean the Warbreaker mess. I think
Oh,
because
okay.
yeah,
So,
I think it's best to
Warbreaker.
start there.
Yeah.
So first of all, it's a book by Brandon Sanderson, which is a very renowned fantasy author.
Yeah.
I think I've read a few books by him, and I have to say he is very good.
Yeah.
Although I didn't like everything, but his whole style, writing style, magic systems, it's all kind of interesting and well done. The style is just good.
Mm-hmm.
He
However,
also yeah he also can create very good characters. Unfortunately, Warbreaker is a very bad example of that.
this was my first introduction to this author. Actually, I
Yeah.
have somehow managed to miss reading any of his previous works, and
You
as a
basically
first,
have to read one thing. It's Words of Radiance, The Way of Kings. The series is called The Way of Kings. Yeah, the first book I think you can check it out later. But this is the thing that you should read,
mm-hmm,
and what I can say about it without spoiling too much is that it's incredibly rich world, very interesting, also very interesting magic system, and there is just a lot of effort put into this world. And the first book of the series, how do I say this? It's very slow because it's building the world from the scratch. It puts a lot of effort into building this world. So the first book, I have to say, might seem very kind of a slow and boring at the beginning, but at the end, it's worth the wait
mm-hmm.
because in the second book, the author completely explodes, both with the story and with the characters. So it's a little bit of a pain to read the first book because it is a very long book, uh, but it's definitely worth it for the second book. It's just the things that he does with the world are incredible.
Yeah. By your description, I definitely want to read this one. Although I don't know when exactly I'll get to it, I will be sure to do it at some point. Then again, we don't have that book in front of us right now. We have Warbreaker, which again is my first introduction to the author. And as far as first impressions go, what I thought about this book is that it kind of felt mechanical in a way that I could sense that the author can write and he has a good expression and he has some interesting ideas about magic systems. Like the magic system in this one is something that I haven't seen before. I'm not entirely convinced that it works great, but it's definitely something that's at least original.
Let's start with the magic system.
Yeah, let's talk about the magic system.
In many books, in many fantasy books, we see magic system, and I'm personally very disappointed if I don't see a kind of a good magic system or something that at least works well. So, magic systems are essentially a very important part of a fantasy book. So, yeah, what were your thoughts on the magic system? First, introduce us to the magic system.
So, the magic system felt a bit disjointed because it has two parts to it. One part is that everyone is born with a breath, which is, I guess, some sort of inane magic that you can use to animate objects. So you can breathe life into objects. And most people are born with one breath. I guess some are born with more. And a breath can be given away. So you can collect breaths and you can, literally pay yourself into magic. You can, if you have enough money, you can pay people to give them your breath.
It's important to say that you can't do anything with one breath.
Yeah,
most people have one breath, and it's like this is one magic unit essentially that you're carrying. It's a one magic unit, and the very unfortunate thing in this is that this is unreplenishable. You can't replenish it. Like
you just have a
good night's sleep. Yeah, a good night's sleep. It's not gonna.
So there is no mana.
It's not gonna replenish it.
There is just like exchange of breaths and the loss of breaths when someone dies.
Which immediately limits the magic system to be kind of there is magic, but most of the people won't use it, and
the people that can afford it are just rich people. So if you're rich, you can afford to literally buy the breaths from people, because a person can live without a breath, and a poor person will sell their breath.
They're very valuable.
Yeah, because they can feed their family of that, and one breath is not enough, as we said, to do anything. It makes your life duller. It makes you a bit less duller, it seems.
This is a bit of a superstition, because maybe it kind of will shorten your life with a few years or something.
That's not clear.
It's not clear, but it says that generally the reason why people want more breaths is generally because it makes you healthier and harder to age.
Yeah. So again, you can.
It's just like a life force, essentially.
It's literally the rich people paying for the rejuvenating blood of the young, in a way.
Yeah, and again, this kind of limits the use of magic a lot, because people just want to stack on it so that they don't die.
Yeah.
The rich people. And it's perfectly reasonable.
The uses of this magic, I will have to say right now that I did not finish the book because I did not enjoy it. But the uses seemed quite limited. You can animate objects, and you can get the source of life sense and be aware of people around you
that have magic in them.
Yeah, even normal people. You can sense normal people.
You actually, in the book, it says that if you lose your magic unit, I think it was called a drab, a person that has no magic and no breath, cannot be detected by other people. Yeah, it's a small detail.
Actually. You can.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's fine. I mean, it's a proper thing.
Yeah.
It's a logical thing.
But I mean, what do you do with that? Like
There's also colors in the system, which make completely no sense.
Yeah, colors are basically, the more breaths you see, the more colors you experience and influence the
colors are
intensity
richer
of colors around you, and you can be more accurate in recognizing colors. So you can look at a color and can say this has exactly like 6% white in it and 1% blue, and like the rest is red, so it's not a pure red. So you can do stuff like that, which I guess is
it's
something.
absolutely useless. Also, it also makes you stand out in a way, because a person that carries a large amount of breaths is gonna bend the colors around them. It's gonna make them richer
and shinier.
Yeah, shinier. And but other than that, this what it looked at first words when I started reading the system, it felt like a color system.
Yeah, like something.
But it's not a color system.
No, it isn't. It's just the breaths.
And I've read a book about the color system, that basically people had different colors assigned to them, when they're born. Some of them can carry more than one color, but most of the people had one color. And they can manifest this color by basically creating a colorful matter from their hands that, depending on the color, has different properties.
Now this immediately sounds like it has so much more possibilities and use cases than the only use case that we see, like a big use case for the breasts, is being able to reanimate corpses.
Also, just to finish, the colors in the other book, which is the Lightbringer series, it also carried emotion. So if red is has a properties like it's hot, and it's also kind of it's you can link it with anger, anger and fire, lava, and these things. And people that are generally of the red color are more hot-headed, kind of easier to get angry or to be. They're more emotional also. And people that are of the blue color are exactly the opposite. They're a little bit more. They're more practical. They're not that emotional. It was a very well made system in that book.
While it sounds a bit simplistic, again, it's something that gives you unique properties to people, and something that lends people, I guess, their unique strengths and deficiencies. Here it's just like a currency. Black breasts are mostly a currency. At least that's what it seems like to me. And we have one other part to the magic system in Warbreaker, and that's that there are people that are returned, that are people that have died and then have returned to life. And those people have a huge amount of breaths, and they need to substantiate on breaths every week, like once a week at least. They need to get a breath from someone, and breaths can only be given. Like, you cannot steal a breath, but you can coerce a small child to be like, yeah, give your breath to that godlike being over there.
Actually, all of the breaths that are given to the gods are bought by the priests.
Oh, they're both, yeah, but
they're both, but this doesn't make it better, because
they're both from poor people that want to feed their families, and they're like, well, I can give the breath of my child away.
These returned people, they don't need to eat. They just need one breath a week, and that's it.
Which seems so boring. Like, they die on the 8th day. Like, if they don't get a breath, they die on the 8th day, and they're considered gods.
Let's talk about their usefulness, because these people are very useless.
Yep.
Essentially, they can trade all their breaths for grant kind of one wish, and usually that wish is to cure someone. So basically, you can trade your life to cure one person.
Yeah, that's a god. Also, they can command armies of undead. I guess that's the more useful part.
Yeah, there's the issue with the army of 40,000 undead that are split between 4 of these returned gods, and everyone carries the commands for 10,000.
Yeah.
For 10,000 war. So it's split in 4. But it's again such a kind of a useless thing. I feel like it's something just to be there, so that they aren't completely useless.
Yeah, and it's not like as if that's a big part of the story. It's more of a war asset. Like, these people are a big nation and they have a huge army. Oh, their army is undead. But, like, how does that matter? Like, they can just have a normal army and it would be the same thing.
It literally makes no sense.
And they're not like a warlike country that goes to war all the time. They have been at peace for at least 30 years now. So it's not like there's some...
50? I think 50 or something.
Yeah, and they're not some warmongering nation.
They're an economic boom.
Yeah, so
they're an economic boom.
They don't need a huge fucking army of undead. Why do they have that? There is literally no reason.
And also, in the beginning of the book, we're convinced that war is inevitable.
Yeah.
And from one of the sides, and then we just move to the town.
And then, yeah, so we start off with the Smoke Kingdom, and the Smoke Kingdom is like, oh no, they're coming for us. There's going to be war. What are we going to do? And then the perspective shifts to the supposed warlike nation, and we find out that they're just like a trade nation that don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they're a trade nation, and honestly, there are some people that call out for war, but it's very far.
There is no sense of urgency there. There is no sense
Absolutely no sense of urgency.
I can envision very easily a future where just normal diplomacy takes care of everything. Like, you don't need magic, you don't need great feats of warlike adventure princesses. You can just do diplomacy. Like, these are reasonable people. They're even kind of boring.
Yeah. It's a pretty boring nation.
Like, the ruling caste likes to watch fireworks and laze around and drink wine.
Yeah. If you're poor, even if you're poor in this country, in this city, you can just sell your breath, and suddenly you're not poor.
Yeah, you have
at
money
least for a while.
They said something along the lines, and I'm probably not quoting it exactly, but it was something like, the breath of a single child is enough to feed the whole family of that child for 40 years.
Something like, I'm not sure about the 40 part, but
30. It was like,
I might be mistaken. Yeah, they're very valuable. The breaths.
So, by the way, they're not that valuable, so I don't understand how the fuck even.
Yeah,
like, who would pay that much for a breath, for a single breath, when you need a couple of hundred to reach, like, they have several levels of heightening. And again, that's just a fancy name to say you've reached level
useless.
100 of breath.
Yeah, it's pretty useless because it doesn't give you any special abilities, kind of. Well, maybe the first heightening, but
even
you're able to reanimate things,
but they don't use it.
So useless.
The book says specifically that no one uses it. No one uses reanimation. They only care about status, because more breaths means like you're obviously very rich, so that's a status thing, and they care about being able to live longer. So the supposed magic part of this magic system is not used almost
the magic system is basically not used for magic.
Yeah, it's entirely a status-based thing, and again, that's why I'm saying that this is not a warlike nation. This is a nation of merchants.
Yeah,
but yeah, can we talk about the protagonist? I think the protagonist is so fucking hilarious. I don't know. Do you remember the name of the protagonist?
Wait, you mean The guy with the sword?
The guy with the sword.
Well, he showed up at this point just a few times, so
Yeah,
I'm not
so
sure we
is
can
he,
call
is
him
he the protagonist even? Yeah, because
Nope,
at the
he's
first
not.
chapter you're introduced to this supposed badass who...
He's supposedly the protagonist,
Yeah,
and
you
he
think-
looks kind of more interesting than the other characters,
But
and
then
we'll
he
get to
disappears
them.
from the story. Maybe
Yeah, he completely disappears from the story.
So-
Also, I want to point out that the king in the beginning looked like a very kind of an interesting person,
Yeah.
the king. But again, he's just there for one chapter, and off we go.
Off we go. Again, we did not finish this book. I dropped it at about like a third in, and you dropped it where?
I dropped it at around 45%.
Yeah. Because it was just not fun. Like, there was...
Yeah, you asked me, you wanted to read the whole book for our conversation, but I just told you that it's just not worth it.
It's not worth the
to
time
get there.
investment.
Yeah, it's a big book, and this isn't just a movie that you can watch.
In 2 hours and be done with it, yeah.
Yeah, this takes time.
Yeah, like a book like this, especially when I'm listening to it on Audible, which means I have just a fixed speed at which I can go through it. It takes something like 23 hours, I think, on Audible. So yeah, I wanted to get something better. I wanted to listen to something better, and this was just not. It was just not
You will
entertaining.
be faster if you read it manually.
Yeah, but not like 2 times
still,
faster.
it's a massive investment in time for something that's essentially not worth it.
Yeah. Well, so the not protagonist in the first chapter is an old badass that used to command thousands of breasts, and has a talking magical sword that's called Nightblood. And I'm like, Jesus, here we go.
I was hoping that this is some kind of an old guy at the beginning, or so I thought. But
we have a
you
thing
kind
for
of
old
can
guys.
get the same. It's interesting from a perspective of a person that was very powerful and now he's weak. He uses his last ounces of magic, but this immediately changes.
Yeah,
even at the beginning.
He immediately acquires a bunch of breaths, like couple of hundred, maybe breaths.
Yeah, I
think 1,000.
More.
Maybe
Yeah,
1,000 breaths.
something like
Like
that.
So our protagonist that's supposed to be down on his luck and like in his lowest point immediately gets 1,000 breaths. So he immediately is now powerful again, and he has a magical talking sword that kills people all the time and is called Nightblood. And I'm like,
the sword basically craves for kills.
Yeah, and I'm like, we're at peak young adult novel right now, and then we abandon him.
It's a very childish character, and with the sword thing, it feels childish.
Yeah,
and we
and
immediately
I don't remember
abandon
his
him
name because we
I also
literally
can't
have it
remember
in
him.
2 chapters, like 3 chapters or something.
The thing is, he actually seems like a more interesting character, as I said, compared to the rest of the
Well, I guess
bunch.
he seems more interesting because he's not very realistic, while most of the other characters are more realistic,
And
but
also,
they're
we
kind
don't
of boring.
spend almost any time with him.
Oh yeah,
So maybe
he gets
that's also a
boring
problem.
when you spend time with him. Actually, he does seem like he would get very boring when you spend time with him because he's constantly like,
this is true.
my purposes are mine only to know. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to know, to see in a character, someone that I don't know the motivation for.
Yeah. I mean, nothing is really said in this book. The story is supposed to have a lot of secrets or anything,
but none of them felt like they entranced me enough to care. So
yeah, you just don't care about the secrets. I mean, I don't feel compelled to finish the book because I don't like the characters. I feel that they're mostly incredibly boring, and they're also not really developing through the book. I mean, there's some development in characters, but
Okay, tell me a
it just,
character that changed up to about 40%, because up to about 20 something percent, 30%, I
one
didn't.
of the returned, the god that we have. They
Are you
also
talking about
light
Light
song.
Song, the god that speaks in completely colloquial modern language and seems so fucking out of place the whole time because he uses terms like psychology, even though that's supposedly a medieval society, kind of. So
Yeah, he's very strange.
an
He feels
ego
very
and
out
like,
of place, which
yeah, he does
is
not.
supposed to be his thing, but you don't care.
Yeah, you don't like. He does not
He
feel like
changes a
a
little bit.
person of the time.
He changes a little bit, but again, the thing is, I had hopes for this book because I know the author, and I know he takes time to build the world, build the characters. So in the beginning, I was like, okay, this looks pretty generic. But I'm sure he's gonna expand on the magic system, expand on the world.
Look, you
Just
need to give me something to care about. If at 30% of your book I have nothing to care about, then, well, I'm not going to finish your book. And that's being generous. That's being extremely generous, because I think most people would want a strong hook even earlier. And we kind of get a strong hook. We get Nightblood blood and all that, and it seems like a quest for a fallen warrior to regain his strength and stuff like that. And it just disappears. It's just one chapter, and then it's
let's go.
politics and
Horde.
and nothing. So I don't know. I'm okay with things being slow, but they need to feel compelling. You can be slow and compelling. Slow does not have
Nothing
to
is
equal
moving
boring,
in the
and this
story.
is boring.
Nothing is moving.
Yeah.
It's boring and it's very static. We spend the whole time
So
locked in a city.
we
The gods
know
are locked.
we don't know
So the
what
return.
everyone wants. Like, we don't know what anyone wants actually. So it's all kept secret. But when you don't know what a character is trying to do and trying to accomplish, like, we have only one character that we kind of know what she's about, and she's about, I don't want to fucking die, and maybe possibly help my country a bit. That's not that much, because it's not a personal, like, not wanting to die, I guess, is a personal motivation, but I want to help my country a bit, if possible, while not dying, is not a very strong motivation.
Definitely is not. I mean, the motivations here are completely missing or very lackluster.
Yeah.
Uh,
Again, so,
how should I
like,
say? Yeah, when you don't have a story that engages you in any way, and you don't have characters that are interesting and move the story, or develop in certain interesting ways, it's just a boring book about boring people.
yes. So,
Something has to move. Something has to be moving. Even if you're in a city, you can make a very interesting story that is locked in a city, but the characters can just move around, do things.
yeah.
These
How about
characters
Worm?
are just too boring.
Like, Worm
Oh.
is in one city the whole time, at least up to the half point, which is 3 times the length of this whole book.
Maybe more.
Maybe more. So Worm is one of my favorite examples of taking the mundane, taking like a very normal situation. Well, for the most part, they're superpowers, but the superpowers are entirely grounded in reality, and the thing that grounds them is that the characters behave as if what would a normal child, well, not child, like a teenager, do when confronted with superpowers, and how will they just sit down and overthink it, and then make mistakes, and try to do good, and then try to fall over their head. Like, it felt like the whole time the character was trying to accomplish something, and struggling and failing and trying again, and like getting tangled up in a place that she did not want to be, and it was constantly propulsive and constantly wanting, like, I wanted to see what will happen to her next. Here we don't have anyone with any real stakes for the most part.
Just a second. Even when there is no action in Worm, even when there is no battle, the story still moves and characters are still trying to do things. And it's interesting to read about them. It's just interesting because the characters feel very human-like, even though they're all superheroes.
Yeah, we'll do a full thing on Worm at some point, and I would love to get into. Like, it's probably going to be a 5-hour podcast.
Going to be very long, yes.
Yeah, but the thing is that it managed to do that mostly by feeling real in its character behavior. Here, the characters behave, for the most part, as someone believes a fantasy character should behave. So it doesn't feel
like puppets. The characters.
It doesn't feel
Honestly,
like. Yeah.
I've read a lot of fantasy books, and this book, it has to have one of the worst characters that I have seen. You know, it's not a problem to have one or two bad characters, but it's just everyone feels so bad.
So that was the strange thing about this book for me, because you said that the author is good, and I felt like the author is actually good, and his writing flows well, and his descriptions are clear but still evocative, but they serve no purpose in a way. It felt like he was just writing on autopilot. Like, that's what it felt like. Let's just write some fantasy.
Very generic fantasy. This is how it feels. Very generic fantasy with some very two-dimensional characters.
Well,
I think that's enough for this book.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a disappointment. I'm not sure if I'm gonna finish the book, even though I'm at 45%. I still wish to finish it a little bit because, you know, it's Brandon Sanderson, and I really enjoyed the other series that I talked about. What was it? The Way of Kings. Yeah, The Way of Kings. Sorry. But I don't know. I also read Mistborn from him, and Mistborn is very similar to this book, although the first book is just much better than this one. But the second one completely falls flat in its face, and I stopped reading that. It's a trilogy, but just the second book disappointed me so much that I just stopped reading. Anyway, yeah, we're done for Warbreaker. Just overall, very boring book with very generic fantasy settings and extremely flat characters.
Yep. Let's do, I guess, Life the movie now. Like, let's move to something that's...
I've watched this last night.
Yeah, so...
You've watched it...
a month or so ago when it came out, and I went to the movies because, well, there wasn't much of else that was playing, and I just thought, why not? Space horror.
From the trailer, I thought that it's going to be a stupid movie.
It was kind of stupid, but it was...
It looked like another Alien, and we know for the last... At least Prometheus, I haven't watched the new... Alien.
Maybe we can discuss that after you've seen it, because I saw it already and I have actually kind of positive thoughts on it. Again, with some asterisks, but I definitely did not hate it as much as I did not hate it, for starters, and we both hated Prometheus. But,
yeah, Prometheus was a special experience.
Yeah.
A lot of hope put into that one, and
Yeah.
a massive disappointment.
So how about life? I went with very low expectations. I was basically hoping for horror in space, and what I got was horror in space. So
Yeah.
I was happy with that.
The movie is surprisingly decent, I have to say.
Yeah. It has what? So what happens in this movie is a probe is collected from Mars that has taken some samples from the soil, and we managed to isolate the single cell organism from those samples. What it turns out is that this organism is rapidly growing, and we have, in a way, discovered the first life outside of Earth. So experiments are done on the International Space Station with this,
which is massive. It is a renewed station. Yeah. It's a massive spaceship with, I have to say, a lot of wasted space there. But anyway,
yeah,
it's not exactly a scientific movie. This one,
no, definitely not. But yeah, it's a pretty cool idea that you would want to quarantine something like that. So you're taking a new life form from another ecosystem, so you don't want to introduce it to Earth because you don't know like what the interaction might be. So they're experimenting with it on the space station, and then bad things happen.
A lot of bad things happen.
A lot of bad things happen. This movie has one of the most gruesome death scenes I have ever seen.
Yes.
Like it's amazing. It made me sick, and I've seen some shit.
I have a grudge with this movie that it killed. Spoilers! It killed Ryan Reynolds first.
Yeah.
Fuck you, movie. Fuck you.
It seemed like he was contracted for just a part of the movie, so he was the first one to die. Which is a bit disappointing, but that's oftentimes how these things work. Do you remember Godzilla and Bran?
Oh my god, please, no.
Bryan Cranston?
He was the best part of the movie.
He was
they killed him right off.
the best part. Like, he played so well his part, and he was so believable in it. And he dies in the first 17 minutes or something. In every trailer for that movie.
He's in every trailer, yes. That was what I was about to say.
Yeah, and we have the same thing here. Like, Ryan Reynolds is in every trailer for Life, but he dies in the first 25 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, out of an hour and a half movie. Give or take.
He dies in a very bad way. Also.
He dies in a very, like, his death is disturbing. It's straight up disturbing because
it is disturbing. Yeah.
I don't know. Do we want to spoil this movie, or do we? I think it's worth spoiling because there are some discussions that are interesting about the movie only if you talk about how it handles certain things. So
well, yeah, I think we can avoid spoilers.
But for the most part, I would say if you want to just watch a fun horror movie, this is a fun space horror movie. It's not great.
It does things well. The characters are also
You will
pretty
not
nice.
be surprised by this movie, except for maybe that one death scene. But there are no surprises in this movie. It's paid by
maybe
numbers.
The ending, but
was it? Maybe that's kind of standard for horror movies, I guess. I think that not doing the fake out at the end would have been a bigger surprise. But yeah, for the most part, I would say if you want to watch sci-fi space horror, this is better than The Last Alien. As a horror. As a movie, it's not better. By the way. As a movie, I do like The Last Alien Covenant. But as a straight up, like a horror monster thing, it's definitely okay. The biggest problem I had with the monster was that at some point that it's supposed to be like a starfish amoeba creature that grows with tentacles.
The creature has
and stuff.
a lot of problems.
At some point it gets a face, like That's a
Well,
part of
your
his...
enemy has to have a face.
Yes, and I thought that this was like the biggest misstep of the movie, giving it a face, like having the creature have distinct eyes, eye shape, and stuff like that.
I think making it basically invulnerable was the biggest misstep, but yeah, it's okay. I mean, at least make it take some damage. I mean, it didn't take a shred of fuck through the whole movie.
Yeah. So we had a creature that was grown in a vat, so it was just like a jellyfish size at that point, and then escapes using tools. So we see it actually break a stick in two and use the sharp point to poke through its enclosure to get out. So it's legitimately intelligent, and we never even try to communicate with it. Never even try to.
Well, it's trying to kill us.
No, but
all the time.
It's intelligent. You can talk to intelligent things, and no one on this ship of this space station full with scientists, not even fucking one, tried it.
Well, when they killed Ryan Reynolds, of course.
Well,
I'll
yeah,
be very mad too.
They killed Ryan Reynolds.
Of course, they want to kill it. He killed Ryan Reynolds. Fuck you, creature.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Because it killed Ryan Reynolds, it needs to die.
Absolutely, it needs to die.
But yeah,
interesting part is that fire didn't help. They tried to burn it. It didn't seem to do almost any damage to it.
So yeah,
then
it doesn't
frost
burn.
Doesn't do anything to it.
It can survive in the vacuum of space.
This is the biggest bullshit for me. That it can survive in the vacuum of space for a few minutes.
Like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes?
10 or something minutes. It's literally in open space.
And it's just like going around. It doesn't care.
Like, I'm sorry. We as a species can also survive in space with equipment and with thousands of years of development.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You can even survive with a little bit out in space for about, I think, a minute or so. You can survive that. Even it won't be even that bad. Like after like 3 minutes, then it's pretty bad. Don't quote me on that. I would have to look it up. But I remember reading it at some point, and maybe it's worth re-examining. But what we have here is a creature that is heat resistant, and it's cold resistant, and it doesn't need oxygen. And it needs oxygen, and it needs food, but it doesn't need food and oxygen.
Yeah, I was about to say this because it's when the life support start failing, and it gets cold and the oxygen is limited, it starts clinging to these, oxygen lamps?
Oxygen lamps, yeah.
That they have, and it's like, oh no, I'm dying. What? Don't give me this shit. You spent 10 minutes in open space.
Maybe
like,
more.
Fuck you.
Maybe more than 10 minutes just flying. Not flying, but grappling around the space station, the exterior of the space station. And it knew not to let go, because, again, it's intelligent. It's
extremely intelligent, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, because it didn't really have that much time to observe things and learn.
It has to be the most fucking intelligent thing in the cosmos, because it has been alive for about 2 hours, and it knows how to use tools, and it knows how to hide, when to attack, when to
perfect predator senses.
Perfect predator. It knows what part of a spaceship is the part that it can go through.
Yeah, a lot of bullshit surrounding the creature.
Again, it's a horror creature. Like it's
a horror creature, and to have the kind of the suspense, the tension, you gotta have it move very fast. You gotta have it to be very intelligent. You gotta have it to be almost invulnerable. But I feel like most of these things could have been done better.
Wouldn't it have been scarier if it's instead of so it starts like a little jellyfish, and then it grows and grows and grows and grows and gets like big. wouldn't it have been scarier if it was just like a bunch of little jellyfish things that can get into your mouth?
Yes.
Like, if there wasn't just one creature, but there were many of it. Like, that would seem more reasonable. Then you don't need it to be that smart. You can just have it overwhelmed by sheer numbers and, like, going through...
Okay, this is a good idea. I like it, yes.
Going
It's
through
better.
the tight spaces and, like, finding just ways. And you don't need it to be smart, you just need it to have the instinct to feed constantly. So it can be just, like, a bunch of small things crawling around, like tiny amoeba spiders that eat you from the inside.
And we again have the problem from Prometheus that alien creature just basically grows out of air.
Yeah. Well, here it's
a little bit better, yeah.
But it can metabolize meat and sugars and blood and stuff like that in less than 2 minutes and grow twice its size.
It literally...
It's magic.
It literally killed Ryan Reynolds from the inside, and it was immediately bigger.
Yeah,
much bigger.
30 to 45 seconds, maybe up to a minute or two.
It's completely absurd. Yeah.
Yeah. So it grows at an unreasonable rate. Like it grows so fast. But that's just magic horror creature stuff.
Yep.
And I think that's a bit... One of the big problems of the movie is that it seems like a sci-fi horror, but it isn't. It's more of a...
No, it's just a space horror.
It's just space horror. There is no science behind this at all. Like, zero science was put into this.
Nah. But as far as space horror, it's pretty good.
Yeah. There's space, there's horror, so I mean, it checks all boxes.
Yeah, I think the characters are also okay. They're well acted. Nothing special, no one that you care that much about, but I mean, they'll work. They'll work.
Everyone tries, everyone acts well. I was hoping for something a bit smarter when we see that where things are going. Like, the creature has killed everyone on the station. Like, we need to get out of the station or, like, destroy the station alongside with the creature. And it didn't manage to do as well as I was hoping.
What did you hope?
I don't know. I was hoping for something. I'm not sure. I wish I could just come up with a better ending. And I'm reasonably certain that with enough time, you can come up with a better ending. This is kind of the starter.
Yeah, I think the ending definitely.
So at the end,
is
the
good.
creature tricks the people and ends up in a lifeboat that goes to Earth. And there was another lifeboat that was supposed to eject it into space, but there is this whole fake out scene where it looks like the lifeboat with it on it is going into space, and it looks like one person has managed to survive the whole thing and he's going down to Earth. And, and there is a narration that's like, it came from beyond. We need to be careful. If even one of these things ever makes its way to the Earth is doomed. But today, the day was saved. And then the camera pans to, like, the lifeboat that landed on the Earth, and it's the creature inside. Oh no! It came! We're doomed!
We're actually doomed.
Well,
this is the end of humanity.
Well,
nothing can kill it.
Well, with that magical creature, yeah, nothing can kill it.
Nothing can kill it.
And supposedly they say, like, whoa, this was...
But I think this was the proper ending. It is good, and I like the ending.
As far as
I think it makes it kind of makes the movie feel very complete.
Yeah, because it makes it a full, like, horror circle, I guess, because it ends with despair. It ends with
tricks you very well with the woman is gonna survive again. You know, we're gonna have a man and a woman, and the man sacrifices himself to kind of save the woman.
I'm not
And
sure.
it's also like, fuck you.
I'm not sure. Am I cynical because I didn't think for a moment that their plan would succeed, and I was not tricked for a moment when it was doing the whole fake out. Oh, she got away, and he brought it into
I
space.
thought that the movie won't have the balls to do it, honestly. Like, yes, I saw it, but I thought, no, this,
No, but
it's not gonna have the
in the
balls.
horror
But it
genre,
has.
no, but in the horror genre, this is the staple. I would say that doing doing it the other way actually would be more surprising. I don't know how many horror movies you see. Maybe you don't care that much for horror, but this seemed like the
I don't
only
care that much for
possible.
her, yes.
For me, this seemed like the only possible ending they would do, and they did it exactly like I supposed they would do it.
Yes, so the ending, I have to say, it felt very proper, and I would have been disappointed if it was the other ending.
I mean,
But I still
this is
thought that
strange
they're gonna
because
use the good ending, but they
yeah,
didn't.
yeah, that's interesting because
I'm very happy. I mean, I can overlook some of the faults of the movie just because of the ending. It had a lot of balls, and I
so
kind of like balls in movies.
yeah, I think that if you're
With
not
so many, just a second. With so many Disney movies with the Star Wars thing, the Star Wars reboot, and that movie has the smallest box I've
wait,
ever seen. It's
someone
just
someone is
copy
going to
paste
someone
everything.
is
Yeah,
going to disagree with you about
yeah, very
because
much.
well, Rogue One killed its characters, and yeah, it's obvious it has both.
Oh no, please not Rogue One.
Next
I
week,
hate this movie
next
so
week,
much.
next week we speak about Rogue One, possibly.
Oh, okay. Is it time? Is it time
Maybe.
for me to start swearing a lot? Okay.
But yeah, the thing is that I think for casual horror viewers, this is a good movie. For people that watch a lot of horror, this will not give them anything that they have not seen before.
But it's still properly made, and
Yeah, it is
it's
properly
and
made.
it's in space,
It
which
is in
is
space.
more expensive to make.
But again, I think you would get most out of this movie if you're a casual horror viewer and you are not as accustomed to the tropes of the genre,
Yeah.
so it can surprise you.
So, Crafty, would you recommend it?
I'd say a tentative recommendation if you wanted to see just some space horror. It is some space horror.
Yes,
It's
I will also
fun.
recommend
I
it.
would call it a fun movie.
It's a fun movie. Nah. So there it is. Also, I played 3 games.
How did you
Yeah.
manage? How did you manage 3 games in a week?
Because they were all short games,
Oh.
and that's what I wanted, short games, so that I can, experience variety.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I managed to do just that. So the games, as we said, I'm gonna start with a game called Oxenfree,
Yeah.
and this is a narrative game mostly. It revolves around basically making decisions by talking to other people, and you're a bunch of teenagers on an island. You have come to have a party on the island, but things turn very bad pretty fast.
As things with parties on the islands tend to do.
Yeah. And also kind of spoilers, but there is ghosts, aliens in this game.
Ghost aliens.
Well, you're not exactly sure what it is. The people in the game,
when
the
did we
characters in the
last
game.
see ghost aliens? Wasn't that in Final Fantasy the movie? The
Oh
Spirits Within?
yeah, there's ghost aliens there.
There's ghost aliens in that.
What I'm trying to say is that the characters in the game think that these are ghosts, but from my point of view, these are some kind of aliens.
Okay.
Anyway,
I've heard that this game actually is sort of a introduction to a bigger RNG. Is that right?
I am not exactly sure what you're talking about, but
It's
if
supposed to lead to like a bigger mystery that's hidden, like augmented reality game, right?
I
Where
say,
you're supposed to start looking for clues on the internet that will lead you to other clues. That's it's like this
oh,
big thing that you can discover the truth about the island.
well, I'm not compelled to do a research about it because I'm gonna start with it. The first thing, it's yes, it's a narrative game, but it's essentially a walking simulator, and it has extremely easy puzzles, very very easy. Most of the puzzles are solved by using a radio. You have a radio, and you have to tune it to the right station. So there's a thing about the island and tuning and things, but I don't want to get to massive spoilers or anything. But it's just it's kind of disappointing. It's a disappointing game because I felt like the game as a whole is boring,
Mm.
and the characters are not very interesting. Also, some of them are kind of annoying. And when it's mostly narrative game, this is a very big problem. And
Well, that's
that's
too
it.
bad
I
to hear.
mean,
It seems that
you
it's highly rated overall, but
it's highly rated overall. It's a short game, and it has a lot of different endings. I think it has 6 or 7 endings. So, that's a thing.
mhm. When you say
Uh,
short, how long did it take you to complete?
3 hours. I completed it in 3 hours.
That's pretty fucking short.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking short, but there is definitely replay value if you
Mhm.
liked your first 3 hours in the game. And I can't say I really did. It's, how should I say? The main character, the woman, Alex, she's okay. Mostly she reacts properly and she has some good lines. But generally, the lines are separated in on the left, you have positive options, on the right, you have kind of negative options, and in the middle, there's exactly that something that's in the middle.
Mhm.
It's not always like that, but in most cases is. So I would have loved to see it mixed up a little bit with the lines. Good thing is that you have a limited amount of time to say anything, so you have a few seconds to say it. So you gotta read fast, but
Yeah,
they're
and
not
it's
very
a.
long
I
things.
guess it's a more primal reaction. Like this is what I would
Yeah,
say.
it's a reaction, and you, if you want, you might not say anything, but I'm not sure how much that changes. I mean, it probably changes things. Well, overall, I would say that there's very good ideas in the game, but it's generally just boring. The only character that I kind of cared about uh, was the brother of the main. Sorry, this is heavily spoilers here, actually. But it's the brother of the main character of the lady that you're controlling, of Alex, and he's actually dead. He has died on the island,
Then he's a ghost alien.
and he's a ghost that you kind of see. Yeah, and you talk with him on a few occasions because there's time loops on the islands, and some things are repeated,
Honestly,
and you
like
also get to meet your brother again that died. I think a year back.
some of the things that you're saying just make it sound like it should be an interesting story. It should be an interesting
It
experience
has
to have.
all the proper parts to be an interesting story, but somehow it doesn't really manage to do it. I think the major problem with it is that I'm going to give you a certain situation. It's not an exact situation, but I know it's pretty close. So you tune into something and you start talking with the aliens. You hear voices from somewhere. Then the aliens possess the friend that you're with. They possess him. He goes into the fucking air and he starts talking. Then, later on he disappears. You're still having a conversation. He disappears. Then at the end of the conversation, he reappears and falls to the ground. And they're like, no one is freaking out. I mean, it's like there are a few lines that, oh my god, they're freaking out, but there is no tension in this game. They should be sweating. They should be absolutely sweating. You should be sweating with them. But there isn't enough tension for me. I didn't feel threatened at all. I didn't feel enough tension from it, and it's just like 30 seconds later.
Is it meant to be threatening? Is it meant to be more like just a conversation with something that's unknown?
It's a very creepy conversation, so it's definitely not a normal conversation.
Okay, so it is trying to be something that would unnerve you, but it doesn't manage to do that.
It doesn't manage to do that, and also the characters don't really act like it, because literally 30 seconds later, they're already talking about something else or something.
The weather, obviously, after the possession of our dear friend. What about this weather? Yeah, it's been raining for a while.
So yeah, this is my problem with the game. Mostly it's characters, and I'm not sure I want to find out the other endings. I actually got the ending that I wanted. Spoilers, I saved my brother. He actually returned. Saved is kind of a wrong, because I don't want to spoil too much. Yeah, but anyway. So this was my experience with Oxenfree. If I have to give a score, it's probably about 5.5, maybe something like that.
So just slightly above average.
Slightly above average, with the potential to be great. Kind of a missed opportunity on this one.
Again, I seem to... looking at the scores, it seems that it did land for a lot of people, so maybe if someone listens to this and they're interested in the teams, they can check it out for themselves.
Yeah, definitely check it out, especially on a sale. Especially on a sale, I think it's worth
75% off right now. It's Steam Summer Sale, so it's $5, and for $5,
it's $5.
Most games are okay. Like $1 an hour, that's a deal that okay. I can take most of the time.
That's okay, and I can see people liking it. I can see it. It just didn't hit the right tunes with me, mostly with the characters and with the tension. That's all. But it does a lot of things right. Anyway, to the next game. The next game is called TIMEFrame, and it's another walking simulator again. Short games kind of tend to go for this genre. It's another walking simulator, and this one is very short. This is a 1 hour game. And the idea is that a civilization has perished. And you're there to uncover things about them. So what was this civilization about? So you walk into this time frame just before they all die. Just before the comet hits the planet. It actually hits the town, whatever. And you have to find monuments so that you understand what were these people all about.
Wait, this is before the comet hits, so aren't there people around?
No. This is like a time frame. So they've already died.
Recording of...
Yeah, it's kind of a recording that you a recorded existence. It doesn't say too much, and that's how I perceive it. You're generally free to roam through the last moments of this. It's an empty space. It's empty. There's no one there. But you find these monuments, and you get to know about the people that lived there. And it's definitely not a bad game. First of all, I want to start with the
price. That's like $2 right now.
It's $2. It's $2, and it looks pretty nice. Actually, it kind of has rough graphics, but it has very warm lighting and colors, so it feels very nice.
Yeah,
the game graphically.
Graphics and aesthetics are a different thing, and this one looks very like well put together aesthetically.
Yeah, it's very well put together aesthetically, but this isn't the biggest winner in this game. It's the soundtrack.
Oh,
it's absolutely astonishing. The soundtrack. It's about 10 minutes or something, maybe a little bit more. So yeah, I forgot to say that you have a limited time. You have 10 minutes or something to go search for these monuments and things, and then the time frame restarts and you have to start all over again. But the monuments you got, they are saved, kind of. So this is your part. There's about 12 or 13 monuments or something that you have to find, and it takes you about an hour to find all of them.
And it's like 50 cents more for the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, absolutely buy it with the soundtrack. It is amazing. I bought it with the soundtrack and I couldn't be happier.
Based on what you're telling me, I'm just going to buy it right now just to get that soundtrack then.
It's the best soundtrack, honestly. Like I was completely blown away by how good the soundtrack is. It adds so much feeling to the game. It kind of really hits a nostalgic vibe. This game, even though you've never played it, it feels like such a warm, nice, nostalgic place. They've really did a great job with aesthetics, graphics, and definitely the music. Just amazing. Now, as far as story, about learning about these people, I felt like the monuments they could have been done better. They could have given us better information. Some of them do.
I guess it's one of those that lets you make your own conclusions.
Yeah, it lets you make, but I feel like it could have been made a little better to give you a little bit more information. Some of them are just a little bit similar to each other. And again, I don't want to say anything, but just to clear this out, this is definitely worth buying with the soundtrack.
So, yep, I got it, and I'm going to give it a play.
For a 1 hour game, it's really good. So yeah, I'm happy with this game. Again, if I have to give a score, it's probably.
Do you need a score? Like it's a
recommendation. I don't need a score. The thing I didn't like is that you can't jump, and you're not you don't have a free movement. You can't run and you can't jump. And I want to jump from a high place and I can't. It's a little bit constrained as far as movement, and also the ending. I felt like they could have done more when you finish with all the monuments, and it's very basic ending, and I wanted a little bit more. So this is it, but definitely bad.
And what was the third game?
The third game is called Valley.
Is it a walking simulator?
It's actually a walking simulator again.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Yes. Where do I start with this one?
Is it Stardew Valley?
No, it's not Stardew Valley. It's just Valley. I think it's 2016. It's from last year.
Yep.
This is the best game.
Out of the best game?
Yes, all of these three.
Even after the praise you just gave, this is the best one.
Yeah, this is the best one. And where do I start with this one? So now
It looks pretty.
it's very pretty. First of all, it's amazingly pretty. It shows nature in an extremely beautiful way, and the game loses a lot when it's not showing nature. Because you play at certain points, you play in these facilities, and they're like, "Oh, just fuck off with this facility. I just wanna be in the nature. Just want to be in this valley. I want to climb the mountains. I want to see all the colors and the lightning, everything, the aesthetics is just wonderful. It is extremely pretty. It is very satisfying to look, and it's full of life. It's full of life. It's full of joy, and the biggest thing about this game is the movement and the gameplay.
It seems to be like running centered.
It's running centered and it's physics based, and it feels absolutely amazing. Now this is the game that you wanted when you were little. Like, you wanted the game to just run around like a prick somewhere and jump from wherever you want, climb wherever you want, and this is the game for you. It's just it makes you feel like a child, and it's so majestically done. The running. So the thing about the mechanics that they put is that basically you're in a kind of a mechanical. So it's a magic suit. It's a magic suit.
It's a magic suit.
And when you start running to a flat or maybe a little bit downhill, when you start running downhill, you accelerate. And you hear the wind gushing when you accelerate, and there is a slight blur. And it feels amazingly satisfying to run. To run downhill, you accelerate, and then when you jump, you carry all the acceleration from the jump. And when you jump, you're actually a little bit of a suspended time, because what I'm trying to say is that when you jump, time kind of moves a little bit slower, so the jumps feel so powerful. I don't know how they did it exactly. It's probably like that. It's just a little bit slower, but it feels so nice to just jump around in this beautiful environment. And the game revolves around a lot around just climbing things, jumping around, making this small puzzles. You also have a double jump later on. It's unlocked. It's actually unlocked pretty early. A double jump where you can jump in the air when you've already jumped.
And jump again.
Jump again.
Just as Mario intended.
Yes. You can also hook yourself to things, but they're only specific things. And later on in the game, you get the ability to run on water. You can run on water for limited amount of time. And
what I'm hearing is that you just had a lot of fun just running around.
I had a massive amount of fun with this game. Like, I'm gonna say that there's story in this game. There's story, and the story is complete shit. And this by no means should stop you from getting this game and playing it. It is just astonishingly fun. I had so much fun. I was smiling so much playing this game. It's just, you just run around and you feel so free. It's a very tranquil game. It just puts you at ease. It makes you feel good. It's a proper game. It's just a proper game. There's a story about the military exploring this magic valley. You're in this magic valley, and there's this light balls of energy, basically, floating around that kind of power you up, and you also can use these bows to give or take life. It's very interesting. So if you have a tree, a tree that has died, you can kind of bring it back to life.
That doesn't seem to mesh very well with just running around.
It doesn't, but also when you die, your suit kind of drains power from the valley, and things die out around you, and later on you can get orbs and kind of repair the damage that you've done. This is yes, it's not exactly intuitive, but it feels nice. It feels nice to kind of be able to give life to the valley, but also when you die, you take life from the valley. And so the idea is that the military is trying to exploit the magical powers of the valley. They've
honestly,
created
like everything sounded good, but then you say this, and I'm like, I don't care about that. I just want to see the running.
It's mostly the running. It's really mostly the running. It's the story. The story is just stupid, and there's also someone you're listening to audio recordings from here and there, and I'm just like, just shut up and let me play the game. There's also a little bit of a combat in this game when you beat some kind of ghost enemies, demons, something, I don't know. And they're extremely easy. There's only one little bit more challenging encounter.
So, overall recommendation then?
Overall, it's a massive recommendation. For me, just if you want to spend some time in the valley and to run around, climb things, jump around, and just have some fun. Literally, what I did for the first 30 or 40 minutes in the game, like, I was in the first area kind of for like probably 5 minutes into the game walking distance, in the beginning walking distance, and I just played around, and it was so fun. And also this game again has a very good soundtrack. Some of the tunes are amazingly good, and they blend very well with the surroundings. Massive recommendation from me. It's again a short game. It's about people say that you can finish it about 4 hours. I stayed in the game around 6 hours because I played around, fooled around.
So you mean you had fun with the game? So
I had a lot of fun with the game, and I have to say, definitely get it. Just definitely get it. It's just an amazing fun. I'm talking with you now, and I'm already feeling compelled to go back and just run around a little bit, listen to the beautiful soundtrack. And the thing is, when you finish the game, because you unlock powers through the whole game,
and then at the end it lets you just run around.
Yeah, at any point you can go back to the beginning if you want, or whatever. You can teleport, or even if you finish the game, you can just go wherever you want and have fun. There's a lot of hidden things, so you can explore for them. And after you finish the game, when you teleport to an area, it tells you, there are a certain number of hidden things here. Find them. And you can do just that, or you can just run around and have fun. And I'm sure most of the people are just gonna buy it for that and gonna do exactly that.
Do you want to do a quick bonus round? Since we are talking walking simulators, I was thinking, well, we can't not talk about the beginner's guide.
Oh, the beginner's guide.
Yeah, this is a game that both of us played half a year ago, or thereabouts.
A year or half, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, and both of us liked, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again a narratively driven walking simulator, but here the narration is just great. The voice acting is great. This is from the same people that did what's his name? Stanley's Parable. Stanley's
Stanley's
Parable.
Parable, yeah.
Yeah. So Stanley's Parable and this game are, I think, the definitive meta walking simulators. Like games that are about games that are about changing what a game is. And both of these are great. So if you wanted to do walking simulator that's a bit more meta driven, that's a bit more like that likes to change the rules on you.
This one is very thought provoking. The
Yeah.
beginner's guide.
The beginner's guide is a meditation on creativity, sort of exploration of what it is to make stuff, to create stuff, and to have other people experience what you have made and how that changes you, like how you might end up wanting to just appease your audience, and how that might make you depressed and might like make you even hate creating anymore. So it's a very I thought heartfelt sort of story, a very personal take on.
It's a very human story.
Yeah,
it's a very human story.
It's I would say that anyone who has ever had any inspirations for be it music or writing or video games or any creative endeavor, this is a game that puts you in the mindset of one artist and how he dealt with it. And I'm not saying that this will apply to you, but I'm saying that it's a perspective that's worth seeing. It's a perspective that's worth experiencing in a way that only games can let you experience it.
Yeah. I also liked the beginner's guide. It was very kind of a fresh perspective on things, and it's definitely something that I've never seen.
Yeah,
it's a very unique game.
I don't. Maybe there are games like it. There are probably games like it, but this one is one of the few that I've played, and it's probably one of the better ones. Again, it's a bit slow. It's a walking simulator, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's not about.
It has very very easy puzzles.
They're not even puzzles. They're just guidelines to the inner, like, creative world of a person. I recommend this one a lot. I think that both this one and Stanley's Parable are definitely worth playing. And Stanley's Parable in particular had one very specific moment that gave you a choice that I've never seen in a video game, and it's I can only compare it to one other game, but you haven't played it yet, so someday we're going to discuss it. And you know what the game is, don't say the name right now.
Okay.
We will get to it someday, I hope. But yeah, it goes further than you would expect of a game, and I think nowadays there are more meta games. Even fucking Superhot does meta game bullshit when it's like, haha, try to quit the game, you cannot quit the game! And I go to Task Manager and I quit the game. Because fuck you. It's like, you can press Alt and F4 and it won't work. And I'm like, it's a challenge now, and you're going down. Like, Superhot is a game that did not fucking need to be meta. It's just a fun game on its own, so why the fuck the meta? But because Stanley Parable was meta, and because there have been a lot of successful meta games, it was very popular for a while, especially with indie games. And there are good examples and there are bad examples. as far as the beginner's guide is concerned, it's not meta like that, being like, oh, look, I'm in a video game and you can press down. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's about the process of creating games. It's about the process of creativity in general, not just games, but it's a meta discussion on creativity by showing you how someone goes about creating something.
Yeah. And the whole because most people they see something that is good and they say, oh my god, this person is so creative, and they don't see the actual process and
The
every
time.
problem, the whole time that it took, and all the problems and kind of the depressions that they might have gotten through creating this. It's not an easy thing.
Do you remember Casually Explained had a video like that when he was like, well, I showed one of my videos to a friend and he was like, oh, this was very well made. Maybe it took you like 2 hours. And he's like, well, usually a video takes me 40 to 60 hours to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
So yeah, it's humanizing to see the creator's side and the sometimes the slog, sometimes the elevation, sometimes like wanting to give up. And this is a game that manages to encapsulate that, I think.
Yeah, both games, both Stand the Parable and the Beginner's Guide, are definitely games that you should have in your library and you should play at a certain point.
Yeah, whenever you want to see something.
They're very thought-provoking,
Yeah.
and they give you insight on both yourself and on creativity.
Yeah. And I think that we are about to round up the show. It's been...
Yeah, by the way, you're editing this shit. I mean, this hour and 30 minutes. Fuck you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sure thing, buddy, I guess. Yeah. I think that...
this time you're fucked. I don't care.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, because you did the last one that was over an hour long. So I'm going to do this one and hopefully not want to kill myself.
Yeah. My god, hour and 30 minutes. Holy shit. Yeah, we should definitely do more of a less things next time. Less things.
Yeah.
More focused on one thing, because when we start talking about a lot of things, this is how time passes.
Oh, I think we managed to go to like what is that, like 4 games, 1 movie, and 1 book. So that's not too bad for an hour.
It's okay.
30 minutes.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if anyone's hearing this, watching this, you haven't died. Thank you for staying with us.
So, by the way, just one aside. Do you remember last time I was like, "Hello, Mom"? Well, do you know what my mom did? She doesn't speak English, but she...
Yeah, my mother also doesn't speak English, so can't show it to her.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, she doesn't speak English, but she saw that I posted it, and she was like, well, I don't understand what you're saying, but I love listening to the sound of your voice, so I put it to play. I'm like, oh my god, my heart!
Oh. Nice. Yeah. Leave it to your mother. They just make you feel nice.
So, just for my mom, zdrasti, mamo, ubičam te.
Yes.
And that's all.
Well, yeah, let's wrap it up. Alright, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.